spiritual intimacy. It's kind of like this rope. In Ecclesiastes 4 it says, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. It's tough because it's bound together. These strings have been woven together so tightly, it's like one. And that's just what it says in Genesis 2, where man and woman come together, and God says it's right for the man to leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh, kind of like that rope. One cord that is not easily broken. And that's why spiritual intimacy is so powerful when a husband and wife come together and have that same worldview, that same focus, that same motivation for everything that they're doing. They pray together. There's power in praying together. That's referred to in Matthew 18. Power in praying together, being united, pulling the same direction. But there are barriers to spiritual intimacy. There can be quite a few barriers to spiritual intimacy. One of them could be that your husband is not a believer, or he's kind of an American Christian. You know, he says he believes in Jesus, that he died for our sins, and that's about it. He's never progressed any further. He hasn't really made Jesus Lord of his life, so Bible reading, praying, kind of optional. Another reason that there could be a problem, a barrier up, is your husband, or you, could be in active sin. And the last thing you want to do is kind of leave your heart open spiritually and pray out loud, because out of the mouth, the heart speaks, right? And so you don't want to be known or found out. I mean, there's this big old sin that you're kind of trying to keep hidden. That could be a barrier. Another huge barrier among couples is that there's resentment between you and your husband. And, you know, maybe he resents you or you resent him. You haven't resolved this conflict. And again, the last thing you want to do is open up your heart to share what's really on your mind in prayer. You don't want to be doing that. You want to have a wall up. And a final reason that there might be a big old barrier between you and your husband, that you can't get your husband to pray with you, maybe read the Bible out loud with you, is you intimidate him. Because you know, women love words. We love words. We have usually a better vocabulary than our husbands. We usually like to read way more than men like to read. And so we can be kind of intimidating. Our prayers are long and eloquent and articulate and beautiful, and they feel kind of inadequate. And so they'd rather just not play at all than be shown up by their wives or to be made to feel inadequate. So could that be a problem, a barrier that's not allowing for spiritual intimacy? He accepted Christ, but he's not really moving forward in his faith. He's not willing to read the Bible, doesn't even see really the need to read the Bible or pray. What could a wife do?
But there's not a whole lot she can do, but the things that she can do is very powerful.
Okay.
And I think prayer is one of it.
Praying for him.
Praying for him. Continue to pray for him, and that there be a direct heart change in him. Which is Ezekiel 36, where God says, I will give them a new spirit. I will replace the heart of stone with a heart of flesh. So she can pray that over her husband. Absolutely. And whether he's aware of her prayer or not, but she continued to pray. Right. It's powerful. And she can be a good reflection. We learn about that in 1 Peter 3, that wives are supposed to win over their unbelieving husbands without a word, which is tough for women, yes, but by their behavior. So as she is a good reflection of Jesus Christ, will that not be attractive to him? Well, eventually what ends up happening, believe it or not, it sort of rubs off in a sense. There you go. It's something's going to take place where he may ask one of these days, oh, you know what, you're always in the Bible. What does the Bible say about this? Or why are you so happy and joyful despite our circumstances, or whatever? And he might start to go, wow, I want some of what she's got. That could very well happen. What could she do? Well, the best thing is to pray for God's proper timing in approaching her husband. Okay. But she needs to be direct. She needs to let him know that I know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I see what's taking place, and we need to do something about this. So in Matthew 18. Absolutely, because kind of like saying in a sense that you are sinning against me. Yeah. You know, for whatever that situation may be. And not just letting it go, because if nothing ever changes, nothing will ever change. Right. And so Matthew 18, verses 15 through 17 is really an intervention instruction that Jesus gives us to lovingly, respectfully confront this person. And part of it is that his response, if he ends up letting her know that, you know what, I don't want to talk about this, and this is going to be, then she needs to go to the next level there with him and say, but I know what you're doing is wrong, not only for you, but for our family and for us, for us as a couple. And in turn, I believe we need to go seek help through our pastor, senior pastor. Now you're already letting him know that you're going to bring somebody else in the loop here if he doesn't see you. And the motivation is love.
I don't want to talk about the Bible with you. I don't want to pray with you. I don't even like you because you haven't dealt with the resentment. So what does she do there?
You know, in that sort of situation, again, prayer precedes everything as to becoming more aware of what and how and God's proper timing in approaching her husband. But a big part of this is that if he resents her, there's unforgiveness.
She needs to confront the issue and ask him, have I done something that's hurt you, and bring it out into the open. Or if she resents him, bring up the issue so that it comes to light.
Absolutely, because when she comes and brings it out, rather than him trying to say it, because he's not sure what to say, and he probably is unable to without getting really upset. But if she says, did I upset you with some of the ways that, you know, I've been, or some of the things that I've said recently?
And she needs to be a safe place for him to give the answer, because you know what? If she's going to get all defensive, if he says, well, yeah, actually, you know, I think you're kind of spiritually arrogant or whatever, and she goes, what are you talking about? Then he's going to be like, he's not going to want to tell the truth. He's not going to want to tell her what's really causing the resentment. So she needs to be a safe place for him to be honest.
He may not even know what resentment is, okay? And so you really have to be very, very, not so much walk on eggshells, but you want to be very careful in how you approach him with this, because you don't want to tear up an opportunity that down the road, maybe this time may not work. But you want to leave it with him so that at least he knows that you're aware that she may very well have done something to cause his ill feeling toward her.
But again, really, it starts with the conversation, and not sweeping things under the rug, but gently probing to get to the bottom of this so that the wall can come down. She's really good with her words. She's got a huge vocabulary. She can run circles around him in terms of picking big words and sounding all pretty with her prayers, and he might feel like, well, I don't know how to do it quite right.
Right.
Is that a barrier?
It is definitely a barrier. And a big part of it is how the wife can actually be able to handle this. If she's aware of what she's saying and what she's doing. If she's doing it to be show off a little bit, or maybe to show a little superiority in her relationship with God versus his, she needs to back down. But that depends on the individual.
Sure.
But in either case, even if she's not, she needs to take a look at that. That could be something that's hindering this relationship. So backing off a little bit, whether
she could pray a shorter prayer. I mean,
absolutely,
she could pray a really short prayer with simple words. I mean, I don't mean to, to be condescending, but just to choose simple, regular words, a short prayer, and leave in an opportunity. Or how about this? Here, look at me doing all the talking here. How about this? Don't follow my lead, ladies. Maybe they're reading a Bible passage together, and she sees 5 great insights that she'd like to share. How about if she restrains herself and just shares one and lets him bring forward an insight?
You know, if first the husband is willing to get together and look into the Bible, that's a huge thing.
That's almost a miracle.
You need to understand that if he's in that mode of doing that, what's really taking place is that the Holy Spirit is already working in him. What you don't want to do is you don't want to dampen or cool it down completely, where he's actually thinking that, you know what, she is just easing back on purpose because I'm just like the new kid on the block. In other words, don't laugh at his prayers. Don't be condescending. Don't put him in a position of thinking like, what, that's the best you can come up with? You know, those type of things are going to hinder him.
Being appreciative and thankful and telling him, I so appreciate you praying with me, that means the world to me. That would be good, wouldn't it?
You know, anytime you lift him up spiritually like that, it lightens things up for him and makes him feel like he's on the right track. And again, the wife is the helper. And that's how the man is actually learning this. And to take that spiritual head of the household, this is a huge thing for some guys, because they just feel like they don't qualify, because they were raised where dad maybe didn't do that, mom did that, and now I'm being told I need to do this. So there's a lot of obstacles that are in his way that will be leveled out eventually from his own willingness to seek and abide more in Jesus Christ.